You're recording?
Yeah.
Okay. I did a lot of writing today.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I was watching a lot of anime and writing in my journal today because I was watching um TikToks about fountain pens, and a lot of the people were like writing in cursive, and I wanted to get good at that. So I was doing a lot of that today.
I like writing in cursive.
Mine looks pretty bad.
I'm pretty
It
good at it,
looks
actually.
it looks pretty bad. Not like the Melodies and Masterpieces podcast, episode 8.
No,
What
we're on episode 7, aren't we?
No, the episode 7 was the Thanksgiving special.
I don't know how to count. It's okay.
All right. That was my smooth transition for the episode. What'd you think of it?
I don't know. It's pretty bad.
Well, I thought it was pretty good. So, whatever. I don't care. I thought it was pretty good. So,
Whatever, Mom. I don't care.
how was your Thanksgiving since the last episode, Laurel?
Uh, it was a day.
What do you
We'll
mean?
just leave it at that. It just
Okay.
was a day.
Did you build your Legos like you said you were going to?
I built my Legos about halfway through. I'm building the Starry Night Lego piece from MoMA. So it's a big thing. It's a big set.
Um, I remember you got me one time this Lego that was like it was an off-brand of Lego, and the pieces were very very tiny, and it was really hard to put together.
Was it the Knuckles one?
It was the Knuckles one, yeah. It's a brand that like it's not Lego, but it's a brand of knockoff Legos where like they specialize in making
It's like
characters.
Nano Brick.
Nano Brick, that might be the name of it, but like that was really hard to put together. And like the thing is, I have to keep it on my shelf and not touch it, because the moment I touch it, it falls apart. I used to be super into like Lego collecting as a kid. I remember having the the recess discussions of me and my friends trading Lego guys. Were you ever in that market?
No, I was in the Silly Bands market.
The silly bands market was something else. I remember.
I got into physical fights with other girls.
Wow, that's pretty metal.
Let me tell you a funny story about Silly Bands. So this one girl, we were going to do a trade because she had a hippo Silly Band, and as many people know, hippos are my favorite animal. And she
Right.
had a hippo, and I was about to trade her like 6 of my Silly Bands because I just wanted that hippo. I was willing to do anything for a hippo Silly Band. And then during indoor recess one day, she was like, "All right, let's do the trade." So she had all of her like little gang members by her, and she was sitting in a school chair, like one of the little desk chairs. She was sitting in one of those, and I was on the floor in front of her, like kneeling to the queen. And I was like, "Here are my 6 Silly Bands." And she was like, "Okay." And she took my 6. Meanwhile, she's like, has her little crowd of people behind her. She takes my 6, puts them on her wrist, and says, "Okay."
And then
And I'm
and
like, "Where's my
then
hippo?" And she's like, "You're not getting it." So I punched her in the face.
wow.
And then, yeah, I was a little aggressive. I punched her in the face. And then when she started, like, trying to pull my hair, I started kicking her.
Wow.
And then the teacher broke us up. This is first grade. The teacher broke us up. And then I had to go, like, sit in the corner or something because I was violent. But I did get the hippo silly band in the end.
I mean, honestly, I don't blame you. Kids like that need to be like, you gotta learn the lesson. Maybe not always beating them up, but like kids gotta learn not to be like little delinquents somehow.
You don't scam people.
I don't scam people, man. See, when I was on the playground, this was in like kindergarten through second grade. The what determined you as like the coolest boy was whoever could run the fastest. That was always like what made you the cream of the crop or whatever. Whoever was the fastest runner. And every week on the playground there was some kind of race between this one kid. We'll call him Jay, who was always the fastest kid. Like he was always quicker than everybody. And the way how like it worked with the girls was like the girls were like whoever's the fastest like we have to like. I don't know. It was like a weird like hierarchy system.
And you wanted to be loved by the girls.
Well, yeah, I mean, what boy doesn't want to be noticed by the girls in school, right? But I was a little chunky kid, so I couldn't run very fast. And then my friend, who's been playing soccer ever since he was a little kid, he could run like crazy, and he Jay ate my friend's dust in one race, and the girls were like, "Okay, we like this kid now." Like, sorry, Jay, that's the rules of the wild. It's pretty wild. Um, oh man, I gotta bring on some of my friends from like those years. We have some crazy stories. Today, I was thinking about a couple of things. So when I was watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade when it was on Thanksgiving, on the Thanksgiving special, there was a lot of marching bands that came on. I don't know if you were watching. You were watching a bit of the parade, but I don't know if you saw the marching bands.
I saw a handful of them.
Yeah, they were pretty good. And I never did a lot of marching bands, so I wanted to like, you know, maybe have you talk a bit about your experience in marching band because I remember when I was in middle school. Many people don't know this about me, but my music journey started with me starting with the trombone in fourth grade. Yeah, I started on the euphonium, but that was too big for me because I was a little kid. And then they moved me to the trombone, and I loved the trombone. I played all the way till eighth grade. I was in the advanced band. I went to Dorney Park. I went to all these different concerts. We played with the high schoolers. We got Superior in the like Battle of the Bands thing. It was like it was awesome. And then I stopped doing band in high school just because I heard of how much of a quote unquote cult the band program was. And like we said previously, we both went to the same high school, and you can confirm that it was sort of culty. Yes.
Well, okay, let me play both sides. Since I was the like a quote unquote doubler, I was in band and choir, and I will say they are both respectively their own cults.
Choir's perfect in every way, shape, and form.
No, choir was a cult and band was a cult, but if you did both, you weren't fully accepted into either cult.
Well, yeah, pick a side. Come on. Can't play can't play chess on both sides. There's no gray pieces. But I remember when I was in middle school and the high school band director came to visit, and they do this thing where it's like, "Oh, you should come play band when you go to high school because you get to do all these cool things." Our high school ended up playing like in the halftime show at the Super Bowl or something a lot of years ago, like in 2009.
Well, they
Um,
just played opening for the Jets game.
yeah. So they played at like a couple NFL events, but the Super Bowl was like the big, big, big thing. I remember when the band director came in, he had the Super Bowl jacket on, and so we thought like, oh, if we join marching band, we get to go to the Super Bowl. And like a couple of us were asking like, so what's like Super Bowl rehearsal like? He was like, guys, like you don't just get to go to this. Like that was like a once in a couple of years thing that we won, and immediately everybody was like, oh, well, I don't want to do marching band anymore. But I don't know. So like, what was it? What got you into like marching bands? What was that like?
So I was pressured by my band director. That's how they get you. They guilt trip you and pressure you. And let me preface this. I didn't do full marching band. I was the vocalist and I was in the pep band. Um, but I was surrounded in people that did marching band a lot. My younger brother does marching band, so I'm very heavily involved in the marching band world.
Yeah,
So from my experience in marching band, learning how to march is rough, especially if you're like a freshman and you're just coming in and you're learning how to march. That's unfortunate. That sucks to be you. Because you kind of have to like retrain yourself how to walk. Because you have to walk a certain way,
right.
and it's not just walking in time. It's the entire roll of the foot,
Yeah.
and then you have to relearn how to run different ways. So it's kind of like a weird thing.
So I'm gonna ask you a question. I already have my
Yeah.
answer. You tell me yours. Is marching band a sport? Yes or no?
Yes.
Why?
Because it has competitive competitions and they have to put in a lot of hours of work, and you do have to do physical activity. Granted, it's not maybe like football or anything where you have to, run around constantly, but it is, working hard. You have to put in the hours, you have to put in the work, you have to be on the field, you have to, train in the summer before school even starts. And I think it's considered a sport, and it deserves the varsity title it gets at our old high school, because kids put in a lot of hard work and effort. They commit hours upon hours. Their whole weekends are spent doing marching band. They don't get breaks. They deserve to have it recognized as a sports activity.
So here's my argument, right? I say it's not, and here's why. Now, I don't think physical activity equals sport. I think esports are totally valid. I think chess and checkers are absolutely sports. Um, and the reason why I say, and listen, I was on varsity tennis in high school, so I was told like my entire life, like, oh, you're not really a varsity athlete because tennis isn't that hard. Which, by the way, yes, it is. You know, so all you like all you football player high schoolers listening to this thinking you could just walk on and play a game of tennis, challenge the local old man at your local court. He will smoke you, guaranteed. He will smoke you. Tennis is it's so complicated, bro. We lost so many games because we just kept facing teams that were so much better than us. And we weren't bad. It's just that tennis is a game of like experience. Like you learn the more you play, and these guys simply have just been playing way longer. But that's beside the point. With marching band, what I declare a sport is something that it's competition, right? There's a
Yeah.
clear way, like there's a clear way to win or lose. Like there's a clear set of rules. And in marching band and any other sport, you that's just not a thing. Because like, I'll say it like this. So there's judges for marching band, right? It's like a
Yeah.
panel of, let's say, three judges, judges A, B, and C. Let's say they do that move where like the first row of trumpets duck underneath the second row of trombones swinging their slide over their heads.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Judge A goes, okay, that was really good. I'm going to give them the full 10 points. Judge B goes, no, I didn't like the way the first two people in the line did it. I'm going to give them 3 points. And Judge C goes, it was okay. I'll give them 6 points. Meanwhile, and I'm going to use football as an example. I know music kids hate football, but I'm going to use football as an example. If somebody's making a play and they run past all the defense and they make it to the end zone, it doesn't matter if like they're covered in mud or if they trip on their shoelace or if they're running in the most like ugly way. If they make it to the end zone, that's still 6 points. Nobody on the no referee or no coach could be like, I don't like the way he made that touchdown. We're only going to give him 3 points. No, doesn't matter how you did it. It's clear that once you make it to the end zone, it's 6 points. It's clear that once you get a checkmate, the game's over. It's clear that once you know, hit the ball on the court past all the players, that's a point. In marching band, it's just not clear enough to where it's a full on point, and that's why
So you're undermining the physical commitment.
I how is that what I said? I just said chess is a sport.
Well, yeah, but, you're saying that it's not a sport. I get it that like it's not exactly clear, but if you're in the marching band world, you know what's clear and what's not.
Correct, but
You're
the
not in the marching band world. You wouldn't understand that certain things are judged, only certain things.
okay, but it's not like
There's three groups.
look, it's not like a duck under a trombone is 1 point, making a perfect like transition to a scene is 5 points. It's not like that. No, listen, marching band's hard. I didn't do it because I didn't have the motivation to do it. I knew I couldn't do it well as good as the other kids did. And the people who do marching band, I'm like, wow, you're really good at that. You're able to do something I'm not able to do because I
What's
don't
your
care
opinion on
to.
competitive cheerleading?
I mean, it's the same thing with all competitive forms of art. I mean, I don't think singing's a sport, even though there's competitive singing. I don't think dancing is a sport. I think it's its own class of thing because it's judged in its own separate way. Um, I really don't like the idea of arts being competitive. I know in some circles. It's kind of like with it. Like I know dance, all dancers that I've met, they've been told like we are made to compete. Um,
I get what you're saying though, because in my experience with the visual arts, in the sense of, drawing and everything, a lot of it was made into competitions for me.
and I remember there was a quote by this musician. Maybe you can look up the quote because I can't use my phone right now, but it was like,
Computer, look this up.
yeah, computer search. The quote was like, "Competition is for horses, art is for humans," or something like that. And it was basically saying like art should not be a competition. It should just be us expressing our inner selves through this medium to each other.
Bella Bartok, competition are for horses, not artists.
There you go. Like, and that's not calling athletes horses, but like you see you see the point that he's trying to make, and I kind of agree with it. And this is coming from somebody who participated in like we participated in band and choir competitions. I participated in voice competitions. You participated in art competitions. So like, this is not coming from the realm of people who haven't failed and succeeded in those fields. I've won competitions. I've lost many. I know what it feels like to win. I know what it feels like to lose. I just feel like the arts, when you put competition on it, I mean, I've seen people get first place who straight up didn't deserve first place. I've seen people lose who should have been in the top three. Um, and that competition can make people lose the drive to even recreationally do the art anymore, whatever it is that they do. I remember I was working this voice competition that they volunteer at our college. They have the high schoolers compete at the college. It was a voice competition, and I was just helping with a couple of my friends to help run the event, make sure the kids were getting where they needed to go, getting them to their practice rooms and everything. And there was this one kid, really, really great baritone. I thought he should have won because he had such a good tone. He looked sharp. The songs he picked were so perfect for his voice. They were so advanced, and they gave it to this soprano, and I think it's just because she hit really high notes. But like and I know she's a high schooler, she's growing, but like, look, it's a competition. You grade based off of what you have. I think the other kid should have won, and because he didn't even make the top three, I think he got fifth place. I remember him and I were talking a bit while we were backstage, and he was so upset, and like without saying the words exactly, he basically told me like, I don't think I want to sing anymore. And
I
was
get
like,
that.
that's so ridiculous of not of the kid, but I mean, like, sort of like, obviously he's being dramatic, but like, as musicians, we're not like built to have that um, competitive mindset early on the same way athletes are. When you're a kid and you join the third grade soccer team, you learn. Doesn't matter if you win or lose. It's about the game. You either win or you learn, that whole thing. But musicians, we just kind of learn like, you be you. And when you lose, it's kind of like the you that you brought is not good enough compared to the you that these other kids brought. And that's why I don't really like art competitions. I don't like music competitions. Also, like, I've seen some visual art competition winners, and it's all politics from what I've seen. I mean, you could speak on it, but I've seen like the number one winners are whichever is the most controversial or political.
Controversial opinion. I made a really political piece of art for like a competition and trying to win a scholarship. I made a very political piece of art. I will say it was during an election, but I made it about that, and the girl who won the scholarship took a giant piece of tarp and threw paint at it, and she won.
Yeah, see, it can also be that
So
too.
it's not about politics.
Not always, but I have seen. There was this one time, there was this like uproar of like feminist rights going on in America and all that stuff, and this one girl just drew like a portrait of a naked woman, and it didn't have like any flair. There was no interesting use of medium or anything. And granted, I'm not a visual artist, but I don't know. It didn't really have anything that stuck out in it. And she won first place, and she won like like $10,000 or something crazy. Or it's something like you said, where it's like a hot dog on a canvas with a little bit of mustard on it, gets $3 million and put up in the, modern art museum.
Well, I mean, granted, when in the scholarship that I was going for, it was for my AP art class, and my AP art teacher hated me because, as said in the last podcast, she thought digital art isn't real art. So I was already hated in that class, so I didn't expect to win.
Another reason, and again, that's why I say marching band's not a sport. Anything else not a sport. You could be dragged down on your performance based off of the prejudice of whoever's observing you. If you play baseball, you make a home run, umpire could hate you with all of his guts. If it's a home run, it's a home run, And that's where I think athletes have a bit of an advantage over us, because their competitions are clean cut and dry. Not all the time. I know there's people who play the system and they screw people over, but it's a bit more clear cut for them than it is for us. So it's kind of hard for artists to compete naturally. I just feel that if you're going to be competing, it's kind of hard to say, well, they're the best because they're state champions. Well, I mean, if there were different judges, who knows who would have won? And that's why I don't really like competition in arts that much. And like I said, it just shuts people down from ever wanting to do stuff again, because they're told, like, no, you're not good enough. I mean, look at Dance Moms.
No, yeah.
Look at Dance Moms. You know Dance Moms.
What do you
right?
mean about Dance Moms? JoJo Siwa loves to dance. She opened up her own studio.
Okay, JoJo Siwa also got famous for dumb reasons.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure she's a lovely person, but, like, let's be honest, like, we weren't in love with her a couple of years ago. Everybody was making fun of her. Man, that's what I hate about the internet. I know I talked about it, but it's like, everybody will be clowning on this one person for acting stupid, and then they'll, like, change their ways. And it's like, yeah, we're not canceling them, but it's like, remember when they did this? And it's like, don't you talk about JoJo like that. She's a wonderful human. It's like, okay, bro, like, you were laughing about it, like, 2 months ago. Man, Abby Lee Miller is just a mess.
I tried to, like, stay updated on Abby Lee Miller. I couldn't do it.
Why is she in a wheelchair again?
I don't know.
Can computer look up why Abby Lee Miller's in a wheelchair?
Computer is drawn. Computer will look up whatever you want, even though I'm drawing, whatever.
Laurel's computer, by the way. Until we get a third person.
She became paraplegic after her battle with cancer.
Battle with cancer. Okay. Well, that's valid.
Why? It wouldn't be valid any other way?
Well, I thought it was something like, because some celebrities will be like, oh, I lost my leg due to, I don't know, not being able to tie my shoelaces, but their leg is fine. But, like, if she's legitimately...
There's the really funny clip of Abby Lee Miller, like, backing out of a theater because she's pissed at, like, her students or whatever, and it's her in her wheelchair, and she just, like, backs out and then, like, drives away. It's kind of funny.
She's driving on the sidewalk or whatever.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. But no, like, celebrities will use scandals to, like, boost their... I mean, it's like Celebrities 101. Man, I remember there was a time at our high school that modern artist came in, and she was talking about how, like, one of her pieces got her $2 million, and it was literally a circle on a canvas.
Yeah, I have no recollection of that.
I don't
Probably
think...
because I didn't care.
It was my freshman year, so you weren't there yet.
Oh, then I was in 8th grade.
Yeah. But she was like, yeah, this piece just came to me. And it's literally... It was like a yellow circle. And that was it.
I get modern art. Sometimes it just, like, makes me angry. I love a lot of modern art, but sometimes I just get like, oh.
I mean, I can appreciate.
I'm gonna throw a can of tomato soup at it.
I can. Oh my gosh, that was so stupid. That was so dumb. And people are doing that. Like, people are gluing their hands in protest. Like, glue takes a bit to dry, right? Like, it's not gonna work. Like, first of all, your hand is moist. Like, let's just think scientifically here. Your hand is going to be sweaty because you're nervous, and you're putting fresh glue onto a wall. Your hand's not going to stay perfectly stable. It's not going to work. My favorite part of that video is the guy in the background who goes, "Security!"
Security!
So, do you have any ideas of who you want to bring on here? Like a guest? Anybody you know?
No.
What about your friend you made
mean-
in printmaking class?
I don't know. She doesn't seem like the type that would really be into recording a podcast.
Yeah, you should ask her. I'm sure she'd be.
I'll ask around. I mean, there's a handful of people that like we both have talked to.
I mean, and I'll censor the names out. There's,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm bringing on for.
We just said his name 3 times.
I'm
You're gonna have to
working.
censor that out.
I'm working the editing. All right, it'll be fine. Yeah, will probably come on. I could probably bring, or at least some of them on.
That's, if they want to come.
They've been saying about like podcast things, so I just really want to bring someone on. My dad wants to come on.
Scary.
Yeah, he wants to come on. He wants to talk about stuff.
I'd be too nervous. I wouldn't be able to function.
Nah, he'd be fine.
Take that out.
You want me to take that out?
Take it out.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we just jump cut to here because Laurel said something that she wanted taken out.
Laurel got nervous.
Laurel got nervous and said something that she wanted taken out. It wasn't bad. It was just silly. But yeah, you know what? Now that Thanksgiving's over, we can finally look towards the holidays. My favorite part about the holidays, I like snow personally. I've been getting better at dealing with cold weather because I know that
I like the cold. I like the cold a lot, actually.
Cold weather has been like the bane of my existence for the past couple of years, but I'm kind of warming up to it.
That was awful.
I have been getting better with it. I've been wearing a lot of scarves. I've been saying, so here's Omar's like life hack to survive in the cold, especially if you're a singer, right? Or even if you play an instrument, because if you're cold as an instrumentalist, you're going to be not at your best. Number one thing is a scarf. A scarf will save your life more than you think you do, especially if you play with like an air instrument like brass or woodwinds. Strings, I can't speak on. But like vocals, woodwinds, brass, wear a scarf because it just helps support your airways so you can take nice big breaths and just let it all loose. Honestly, like wear a mask if it's really cold outside because everybody's getting the sniffles right now. Not because they're getting sick, but just because, when it's cold out, people get the sniffles. I know I do sometimes.
I do. Omar has to edit out all of my sniffles.
Yeah, because sometimes there was one episode, I think it was like episode 5 or something, you had it bad, and
I was probably sick. I have a weak immune system.
It was literally, okay, so when I was in school, I was talking to my teacher. Oh my gosh.
Sorry I was sick and you made me record.
Yeah, so I'm recording the podcast.
Oh, shush.
I'm going to get lightheaded doing that.
Yeah,
the audio wave looks so crazy after I just did that. I got to level that out. Yeah, I've been practicing my calligraphy lately. Laurel, a long time ago, got me these nice calligraphy pens from Five Below. They're pretty inexpensive, but they're really nice. I ended up using them so much that they broke, so I got a new pair, and I'm practicing writing cursive in them. So hopefully, I don't know. I've just been seeing so many people writing cursive, and I'm like, that looks so cool and official. I want to do that.
Were you ever taught to write in cursive?
Well, yeah. I mean, they actually don't do it anymore, from what I've heard. But I believe when I was
in the cursive books.
No, I asked my professor, whose kid is in around the age they do that, 4th and 5th grade, and I guess it depends on school district. I don't think it's in the standards for our state anymore, but they
Oh, that's awful.
Basically, when I was in 5th grade, they gave us a little thin book, and it had the skyline, it had the plane line, and it had what was it? It had the top, middle, and bottom line.
Ours was orange.
What was orange?
It was an orange cursive book.
I don't remember what color mine was. I'm saying like the lines you would write in, like the top one was blue, and then it was a middle like dotted red line, and then the bottom was blue again.
Oh,
And
ours didn't have any color.
it was like write a big cursive A, write a little cursive A, write a big cursive A, write a little cursive A, write a little cursive A that would be in the middle of a word. And it's just like, it didn't really teach me how to write. I also just didn't pay attention in school a lot when I was a
I can
kid.
teach you how to write in cursive. I write in cursive.
I'm figuring it out. I'm trying to, because I've heard the whole thing about writing cursive is developing your own way of writing. Like
Yeah.
you follow the basic rules, but like you make up your own special way of doing it. And I was like, okay. And people are like, oh, it's so much faster to write in cursive. I mean, maybe it's because it's my first day doing it, but it's taking like 1,000,000% of my brain power to remember what each letter
It's your
looks
first
like.
day doing it.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. It's like learning a new language, but not. Man.
I like writing in cursive. It makes me feel like I'm some fancy lady from the 1800s.
No, I feel like a Victorian aristocrat, right? In these, I'm gonna write
I
some
could write
letters.
love letters.
Yeah, I'm gonna write some letters to my colleagues, asking for vital information on the political whereabouts of the Duke or whatever. We were talking about Arthur last episode because I was talking about the Kwanzaa cream special, which still
I
makes
don't
me
like
laugh.
when you say that.
This still
I
makes
don't
me
like when you
laugh
say
when I
it.
say it. Uh, did you watch Arthur growing up?
No.
You didn't watch? Did you watch PBS Kids at all?
Not really. Okay, so confession. When I was growing up, my family introduced me to like two TV channels. And they were like, these are the only channels that exist. It
The
was
History
Boomerang and
Channel
the
and
Science Channel.
oh, it's Boomerang.
And the Science Channel. So all I watched was super like old cartoons that my parents used to watch and How It's Made. And that was the only shows I knew for the
How
longest
it's
time. And
how
then
it,
I hit like the middle of 4th grade and then I found out that like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and all those and the Disney Channel and Disney XD existed and it was crazy.
How It's Made is a great show. My favorite one is the How It's Made for vinyl records.
Of course, musician.
Well, it's just interesting because I never understood how they were made. Um,
I
I
used
grew.
to go to my teachers and brag and be like, do you know what How It's Made is? And they'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, I like that show. And they'd be like, okay, good for you.
No, so I grew up on PBS Kids because I just really liked. I really liked Arthur because it was a show that I felt like I was learning things, but it wasn't like, can you spell the word apple? Yeah. Also, the shows on PBS Kids had the grooviest intros you've ever heard in your
Yeah,
life.
Arthur's intro was really good.
Arthur's intro, dude. Every day when you're walking down the street, everybody that you meet has an original point of view. That's like such a. Already, I'm learning something. When you're walking down the street, everybody that you meet has an original point of view. There's like so much you could learn in that one sentence, dude. Like, I I want all of our viewers to write like a thesis on why that first intro verse, like all that it means. And then, oh my gosh, Super
500
Y,
words due tomorrow.
Super Y.
Super Y.
Who's
Super
got the
Y.
power? The power to read, to answer the call, to friends in need. Super Y, Super Y. He's the guy. He's Super Y.
Super Y.
I'm gonna do that for my senior recital. I'm gonna sing the Super Y theme.
You should do that, like, genuinely.
I should, dude. The singer for Super Y, he's got pipes, like, man. And then that stupid Sid the Science Kid. Oh my gosh, that show was terrifying. Did you ever watch Sid the Science Kid?
It did.
They used like mocap or some disgusting way of animating those little creatures.
Those little creatures, those were kids.
They were not kids. They were, one of them was like a pink kid with like fur on his head, and he sounded like he was like a 60-year-old chain smoker. He's like he's like, "Hey Sid, I'm a rock star." Yeah.
Leave him alone.
It was awful. But Arthur had class. Arthur had originality. Arthur had stories to tell. Man, everybody's got a favorite Arthur episode. What's your favorite Arthur episode?
Again, I really didn't watch Arthur, so I don't have much of a recollection.
You gotta have like a one moment that you remember, though.
I didn't really watch it.
You know the scene when Arthur punches DW.
Yeah. And I
Okay,
know
there you go.
breathe square breaths.
Yeah. Um.
Or the mushroom on one of the kids' shirts. I'm a failure.
There's a mushroom on your shirt. Oh, I'm a failure. That's the That was the oh crud. Oh, what's that Jewish holiday? Yom Kippur. That was the Yom Kippur episode. Like, dude, when I was a kid, I learned so much about Yom Kippur from that one episode. Like my favorite episode, because I watched it, I remember in, I think it was first or second grade health class. It was the episode where they talk about ticks, and they talk about like, not ticks, lice. They talk about lice, and the lice are like their own
Lice.
characters. Do you remember when we were kids and lice was like a real problem? Did you have
And
that
they
in your
would
school?
and they would often check our heads. I was so embarrassed whenever I went because I would always go in and they'd be like, "Honey, you have dandruff."
You had dandruff as a kid?
No, it was because I had a dry scalp and I was always itching my head and scratching my head because anything that was itchy, it was there. And they always ask me on like an itchy head day, and they'd be like, "Honey, you have a lot of dandruff."
That just means the fleas don't have stable ground. It's a defense mechanism if you think about it.
What, turning into dandruff?
Yeah. Like it was a real problem. I don't know why it was back then. I mean, kids are just like naturally more open to
Gross.
sharing.
Sorry.
Gross, yes. No, they're kids are disgusting. But like kids are more open to sharing stuff like hats. Like I put on so many of my friends' hats. Sorry, Mom. I know you don't like to hear that, but like when I was in school, I would put on my friends' hats. I'd give my friends my hats. I'm surprised I never got lice. One of my friends, he used to have. I mean, he still has long hair now, but he used to have even back then like long curly hair, and then he got lice and he had to cut it all off, and it was so puzzling seeing him with short hair. That was the only time in his life he had short hair. What a trooper.
I always wanted to shave my head.
I did shave my head.
I know you did, and I always wanted to. When St. Baldrick's came around in like middle school, I was always the kid that was like, "Oh, I want to shave my head. I want to cut off all my hair."
What is St. Baldrick's?
St. Baldrick's was an event that went on when I was a wee lad, and it was basically you would donate your hair. It would be a whole donation of hair event to kids with cancer, and usually all the guys that would volunteer to cut their hair, they would get their head shaved, and any of the girls would just get their hair cut. And I always wanted to get my head shaved, because if you were a girl, you could get your head shaved, but most girls just opted to get a haircut. But my parents never let me, because throughout, middle school and elementary school, my hair was only to about my jawline.
No, when I was that age,
I was not allowed to have long hair.
I was a buzz cut kid then, and I am now. School events were kind of strange. I remember we had this assembly where they brought in these people. I think I remember them saying we're not Native American, but they were like representing a Native American tribe. And we
That's
did
weird.
this thing where like every grade was like an animal kingdom or like an earth archetype. Like the 8th graders were the universe, so they were like stars and planets. The 7th graders were like the mammals, and then my grade, which was 6th grade, was the sea. So we were like fish, and I remember I was a flounder. And we just kind of like acted out whatever we were. And that was the end of it. And I was like, what? The school paid these people. Why? And then in high school, the people that would come in, like you'd be in class and you'd be like, oh, we have an assembly later. What's it about? I don't know. And it'd be some cop coming in talking about don't smoke weed. I busted into a house of a guy who was smoking weed, and I had to shoot him because he was so high. And then they'd like show us pictures of what the guy looked like before he got killed, and like the house after they busted into it, and like all of this for weed. Like, dude, that stuff's legal now. Like all that work for nothing. Am I right?
Yeah.
Man. Well, I think this was a very productive conversation for this podcast. We talked about a lot of different subjects. We talked about competition. We talked about Super Y. We talked about drugs. I think
When to stay away from drugs.
we did a lot of good things there. Well, stay away from drugs if you're underage. If you're above age, the choice is yours and yours alone.
I can't tell you what to do.
Right. I could recommend at least don't drink. Drinking's kind of lame. Don't do that. Like drink something that tastes
even
good.
social drinking is lame.
Like drink something that tastes good. Like beer, I've had non-alcoholic beer, and I doubt with the alcohol it tastes better. But I've had non-alcoholic
It
beer.
does not taste good.
It's okay. I mean, I'll have it if I'm like with the boys and like we want to feel like men, and I want to like let loose a couple burps out of the chamber. But like that's it. Doesn't taste all that great. I'd much rather have like a Pepsi or something, or an orange juice. Or this thing called water. I know, crazy. Like,
Ooh, water. You're making bold statements there.
yeah, I know. I should drink more water. I haven't been drinking a lot of water lately. All right, so
I've been trying to, but I keep forgetting.
we're gonna end this podcast and we're gonna drink a healthy amount of water to hydrate ourselves.
As should you, listeners. Drink water.
Yeah, drink. Go. You see that? I know you're laying in bed right now. Listen to this. Look to your side where the nightstand is. That half-filled bottle of water. Open it. Take a swig.
Or
you
that
leave it
can
there.
of Monster.
No Monster
It's never
after.
too late. It's never too late to finish that can of Monster.
No Monster after 7:30.
You're wrong.
I'm correct. Well, everybody, thank you for listening to the Melodies and Masterpieces podcast, the only podcast by creatives for creatives, episode 8. I think that's what I said in the beginning.
I think so.
Have a good night, have a good morning, drink water, and take care.
Bye-bye.